Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for logging on with the Take 10 with 4-H. Today we're going to talk about STEAM division. My name is Marissa Morgan. I am the State 4-H Family Consumer Sciences Agent here in Las Cruces. So some of the general project requirements include that it must be safe, non-hazardous items and clearly labeled with the participant's name, county, age. So for the age group, you'll include your novice, junior, senior. And if you see on the PowerPoint here, you'll be able to see the different colored tags. The green tags is for your seniors, the little yellow tag is for juniors, and the pink tags are for your novices. And it may be a little bit more complicated to tag your items that are STEAM related. So for example, these are the welding horse saws that the kiddos put together, and some of them were able to come apart and some of them weren't, but you can see on here they have a little string that's attached to the welding, so that just kind of helps out when the tape is not too sticky, or if the item is too dusty, it kind of falls off. In addition, with a lot of the STEAM projects, you will have your self-determined sheet. Your self-determined sheet has a little bit more information of a background of the process of how you made your item, what materials went in, the cost of it all, and a little bit of a background story for the judges who understand the growth portion. And most of the judges that judge for the state fair have a science background, so they're from Sandia Labs or Los Alamos Labs. So a lot of them are very analytical and follow the guidelines to a T. So this past year, there were a couple disqualified projects, excuse me, where students weren't able to advance because they didn't sign their self-determined sheet. Now, some of the safety guidelines within STEAM projects include just making sure that your project does not have any hazardous materials, such as chemicals, sharp objects, live animals. It must be stable and not prone to tipping over. I know with some of the rockets, that's a little bit harder to manage, but that's an important guideline or goal to work towards, because if you can see on the picture, you will see that some of these rockets can stand up and then the other rockets weren't able to stand up. Now, one of the issues that we do sometimes run into with STEAM projects is we have projects that still are that have the rocket engines in them, or they may have explosive materials or combustible items put together. And this past year, we did have to have one of the parents or the agents pick up an item because it still had the engine, and we couldn't have that on the fairgrounds. So another thing with the rockets, for example, there are not going to be any live launches at the fairgrounds at the state fair level or the county level to test out the rockets. It's mainly just to see if the student was able to put it together, what type of materials that they included, and if they followed the project book. Now, like I mentioned in the previous slides, the judging criteria depends on the type of judge. This past year, we did have judges coming from Sandia Labs, and some of them were also included Explora. So Explora program works with a lot of kids, and they judge not only with the project guidelines and the design process, but also the creativity and innovation. A lot of these judges recognize that the students are young and they're still learning. So they were really impressed with a lot of their techniques that they learned with the welding, and they got super excited to see some of the projects that the kids displayed here at the state fair. The picture on your right shows you one of the STEAM projects that a senior made. He got second place, but it's just a simple display of the parts that he put up on a board. And at the bottom is a little circuit board as well that got third place. So the clarity and explanation is usually put on the self-determined sheets, and they also judge the overall presentation and just neatness. If they can't read the self-determined sheet, it's a little bit harder for them to determine if the student learned in the project or what difficulties they faced. Now, this is the last part of the presentation that will show you a little bit about the about how our window displays look. We have rockets that are put together. We have small engines. We have display boards. Within the STEAM projects, we have a lot of welding projects, and it's pretty neat to see the growth from the different students' experiences and backgrounds. So at the mid part on your left side of the presentation, you'll see some of these clovers that we have that are welded, as well as, of course, the rockets. And you have a poster up here that shows how rockets are made. It breaks down the process from the engine to the combustion to what type of powder is used with the effective tissue paper that you'll see. I don't know if you can possibly see it, but okay. Oh, so let me exit out of my PowerPoint and I'll show you some of the projects that you can find for STEAM that are STEAM related. If you go to our state fair website, you will see a lot of the projects. Right now, we're in the process of adding in the current information, but these are some of just to give you an idea of what STEAM projects there are. So with STEAM, you have your science, technology, engineering classes, but there's some projects where a student builds a flashlight, a simple switch just to show the energy, and electromagnetic system. You have your circuit board. And of course your welding. So you have your welding portions on here that shows you the specific guides. We did have judges that had rulers and measuring tapes to make sure that the welding did abide by these standards. And of course your rocketry. Lastly is the wood science and robotics. So wood science is a lot of your projects that are flower boxes or bird houses or even like a bookcase. And then, of course, your robotics, those are self-determined and the computer. So that is what I have to say about STEAM projects. If you have any other questions, I can answer them now.
Marissa, this is Teresa. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So, it is my understanding that you are limiting projects based off of size and weight on some things. Are are there guidelines that tell us specifications on weight and size?
That's a good question. Thank you for asking that, Teresa. So what happened last year is we had a couple of projects that were going to be submitted to the state fair, and they were last minute. I already let the counties know that we did not have enough space for one project. And if I say yes to one county, I would have to say, and I say no to the other county, one, that wouldn't be fair. So this upcoming year, well, I'm trying to plan a better way to incorporate those projects because I recognize that the students work very hard. And one of the suggestions was to have a separate display area, whether that is, and I believe I made this suggestion and brought it up at in-service last year, but there's an opportunity where we can have a specific parking lot area for some of the projects, for example, like a picnic table or like a bookcase that the parents don't want at the state fair. They can still get it judged that day and then they can take it back home with them. And with the weighted projects like the welding you saw in that photo, we had a lot of the welding that was in one corner. Instead of having the exhibits specific to one section, what we can do is we can spread out the weight of it because there is concern with how old the fairgrounds building is starting to demolish and crumble. We don't know how well the wood floors, like this carpet areas, will hold up, and we had a lot of weight on there. So in regards to your question with the large exhibits and the overall weight of the exhibits, all we ask here at the state office is to let us know if you have a student that is going to submit a project at your county fair. There are some county fairs that do happen later, but throughout your meetings from now until August, get some fillers out there, ask your club leaders to see if your students are working on these projects and to kind of give us an idea so we can plan accordingly.